to Pica Poco Kitchen. Today we're making a very special mosaic jello. Vámonos! Jello came to Mexico during the Viceroyalty period where royalty would use this cooking technique for novelty dishes. Not as we know them today, sometimes they would use it to preserve meat or fish using the cartilage in the bones of the main animal, creating this jellified, delicious sounding dish. But luckily for us, in the mid 20th century, when gelatin was mass produced and affordable for everybody, the people created a dessert that was worthy of everybody. They added different fruit flavors, and it is now one of the most popular and affordable desserts there is. Latin America couldn't decide on one flavor, so they thought, let's mix it up. And that is how Mosaic Jello came to be. It was influenced by tres leches cake with the addition of condensed and evaporated milks that somebody thought, let's mix that into jello and see what happens. And that's how every day in a Latin American birthday party, if you go there, you're most likely gonna be served a piece of cake and a slice of mosaic jello. You can make them any flavor you can imagine. I actually have a recipe for that same dessert in my channel where I made a Irish coffee flavor one that you can go and check. Today I'm going more for a classic, but with very specific colors and flavors that are more to my liking. So it is a simple dessert that anybody with no experience can make, and I'm gonna guide you through it, and I hope you give it a shot. So let's get to it. To make this jello is easy as 1, 2, 3, but I decided to make it just a teeny bit complicated. But don't worry, please stay with me, I'm gonna guide you through it. The first thing I'm gonna do is make my milk mix. I have 1 can of evaporated milk and 1 can of sweet condensed milk right into my blender, and I'm gonna give those a mix. Set aside, I want to give a shout out to this amazing spatula that I have. It's Cuisinart, not a sponsor. I had a pack of 3 and that is my favorite. So, to make the fruity jello, I started with 1.5 cups of very hot water to dissolve the first pack, and I went for strawberry. I made it a bit more difficult because I wanted to make 2 tones of the strawberry and 2 tones of the blueberry jello. I would do things differently now, but I'll get to it later. For now, as you can see, I use less of the water that the pack recommends. It goes for 2 cups of water, but I'm going for 1.5, and you'll see why later. I'm gonna add the extra half a cup of liquid later. That was to make my two-tone situation, and you'll see in a minute. So I'll be splitting this fruity mix into 2 different molds so I can do the different tones. I'm prepping them with a little bit of neutral oil in a paper towel and rubbing it up so the jello comes out nicely. So to divide these 1.5 cups, it's 3/4 each mold. Now, we're not over yet. To one of them, to complete the half a cup that we have missing, I'm adding 1/4 cup of cold water to the square mold, and I'm adding 1/4 cup of the milk mixture to the circle mold. That will give me 2 different tones of pink or red jello. I know I'm making it more complicated than I needed to, but I thought that the 2 packs of fruity jello would be enough to fill my whole mosaic jello, but honestly, I think it could have easily hold the 2 strawberry packs, and I could have made one with milk, the other one with water, and two packs of the blueberry, one with milk, one with water. But at this point, I thought that just the two fruity packs would be enough. Now I know I will do that differently next time. And I'm gonna do the exact same thing with the blueberry mix. I am using those pouches of 3 ounce of jello. On the blueberry, once again, I am taking half a cup away, so I'm dissolving it in 1.5 cups of hot water. I'm prepping my molds with neutral oil in a paper towel just to make sure, and dividing my blueberry mix, 3/4 of a cup on each mold. I'm gonna add the half a cup liquid, and now here comes the liquid that I held back, 1/4 of a cup of cold water into one of the molds, and 1/4 of a cup of the milk mix into the other milk mix. That's difficult to say. There are many words in this video that were difficult for me to say, so I hope everything is clear. All the fruity jellos go in the fridge to set, as well as my milk mix, because we don't need it yet. After around 3 hours, my jello is set, and I proceed to take it out and square it. I really don't want to show you this part because I do a horrible job cutting them. I thought originally to flip them over in my cutting board and making sure to have nice squares, which I should have done, but I went against my instincts, and well, here we are now. In the end, it doesn't really matter, but if you want a nicer jello, do that. Now, 1 cup of very hot water, and I'm going to use it to dissolve 4 packs of unflavored gelatin. Make sure to mix them well and dissolve them well. Preferably, let it sit to bloom, and when it becomes solid, melt it back in the microwave, because that way you will make sure that you won't have bits of jello on your final gelatin. To my milk mix, I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of vanilla and my gelatin mix plus 1 cup of cold water. Take that to blend, and meanwhile, we're gonna prep our final mold. Once again, I'm going to rub a little bit of neutral oil all over to make sure I have a nice result. This part is absolutely necessary to have a nice and smooth looking jello, especially if you're using a mold like mine that has all these crevices and the bundt cake part in the center. And now it's time to make a mix of the fruity colors. Mix them, make sure to alternate them, and have a nice base. Traditionally, these jellos have all the colors of the rainbow, so you can choose whatever flavors and colors you like. You don't necessarily have to add milk to some. I'm just going for something here. Once I have a nice base, I'm gonna add my milk jello until it covers them all up. Once I have them all covered, I'm gonna repeat with the rest of my fruity squares. I learned a few things on the process and things that I will do differently next time. My goal was to have all the gelatin to have the same texture, but for some reason, American Jello to me seems that it comes out softer. So if I do it next time, first I will add more fruity Jello, but I will hold back on the quantity of liquid that it requires. Because in the end, my vanilla Jello ended up a little bit firmer than the fruity one. So maybe I will do it in 1.5 cups of water, and that's it. In the fridge, it goes overnight. To help it release from the mold, I'm using my hand, clean hand, to break apart the jello from the mold because we mix it, it has a lot of bubbles, especially in top, that they sometimes get stick into the mold. So jiggle it a little bit. One way to help it release is by soaking it in some hot water for just a few minutes and then try to separate it. Don't forget about the center, just like that. At that point, I thought that would be enough, so I gave it my first try. I love using these big Pyrex round molds because in the end, that's gonna be the house of my jello while it lives in the fridge. but you use whatever plate you want to use. Another tip when it doesn't come off is try to soak a kitchen towel in very hot water and rub it all around your mold. Sometimes that helps. And in my case, it still wasn't sufficient. So I ended up using your best ally, gravity. So I took back my jello and shook it on its side, making sure to let gravity pull it away from the mold, and that seemed to do the job. So finally, I was able to release it from its glorious mold. And here it is. You can see it could have been more fruity, yellow, and also it would have looked better with nicer squares, but it's alright.
And here you have it. It turned out great. I love it. Maybe next time I will use more of the fruity jello just to have a fuller looking gelatin. But so far, I really like it. And I already know it's gonna be delicious. Shall we? Ah, it's so fun. It immediately takes me back to, one of my primo's birthday or a school birthday. Any occasion is a good occasion for Jello. Honestly, you have to stop overlooking Jello, make it fun, make it funky, include the kids into the process, and enjoy. And I hope you come up with different colorful creations of a mosaic Jello. And to close Pride Month, yeah, we will probably see that most of the rainbow decorations are gonna go back in the closet, but the community won't. So it is our duty to stand right beside them, fighting for their rights. Keep your family close because sometimes the most needed embrace is from family. So keep an eye out for all trans youth because we have to protect them. Stay proud, stay outspoken, enjoy your jello, and have a wonderful day. I hope you enjoyed this recipe just like this video, and if you did, please share it with your friends. Like, subscribe, and be notified. And for more, follow me on the socials. Adios, amigues.